Oh, Canada, a beautiful snow-capped land where the healthcare is free, the marijuana is legal, and our current Prime Minister looks like the love child between Joseph Gordon-Levitt and a Keebler elf. For 150 years, we've been known for manners, not being American, and manners. That. We invented the superhero. We invented hockey, and 2 centuries ago, we burnt the White House to the ground. Also, we invented the butter tart and the Nanaimo bar, and those things are delicious. My point is, don't with the North in North America. And to prove it further, let's take a look at the top 5 kick-ass Canadian characters on this, The Real School Countdown. Number 5, the Renault Brothers, Twin Peaks. Listen, I said kick-ass Canadian characters. I didn't say heroes or even well-adjusted human beings. And the Renault Brothers are certainly not well-adjusted human beings. They're sex offenders, accessories to murder, and drug dealers. I'm not defending their crimes, however, they are 3 of the darkest Canadian characters ever put on television, which goes against stereotype and makes them really interesting. What makes them even more interesting is they actually reflect a major theme that reoccurs in Twin Peaks, that nobody is really as they seem. Whether it's Bernard's babyish curly hair, or Jacques' John Candian proportions, or that charming French-Canadian accent that Jean has. Or whatever accent the otherwise great character actor Michael Parks was trying to do. In a short amount of time, all 3 actors gave a very solid and layered performance. They creeped you out. They showed you Canadians aren't to be messed with. And more importantly, they made an impact. So much so that Walter Olkowitz actually returned as another mysterious Renault in the 2017 revival of Twin Peaks. Number 4, Wayne, Letterkenny. Here's the moment where 80% of my audience, the 80% who's not Canadian, all of a sudden has no idea who I'm talking about. But I cannot encourage my international audience enough. If you've never even heard of the show, please look it up. You can at least find the original web series on YouTube called Letterkenny Problems, because this show is not just uniquely Canadian, it's just plain unique and just plain funny. The quick-fire wit, the one-liners are shot at you so fast you actually have to rewatch the same sequence over and over just to get all the jokes. I love stuff like that. There's just nothing like it on TV today. And yet there's something so familiar about it. If you grew up in a small town, not just small town Canada, or even just visited one, then often you know that these small towns produce the biggest characters. Salt of the earth folk who don't take shit from anyone. And creator, writer, and actor of the show, Jared Keeso, really tapped into that and created not only a real character, but in a sense, an everyman. Wayne's a down-to-earth denizen, a dude who doesn't dick around. He downs drinks, drags darts, and dotes deeply on dogs. And if you develop disorder, he knows a discontinuous Donnybrook will do just dandy. Number 3, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Arguably the best film about Toronto, filmed in Toronto, about Toronto, and much like Woody Allen's New York, Toronto is its own character. Toronto. And within that character is a young man who pretty much represents the city himself. A shaggy-haired 20-something with no real job who jumps from party to party wearing ironic t-shirts and discussing pop culture. Now, I never said that's a bad thing because Scott is really the voice of a generation. He's another everyman. And of course, he's presented as the unassuming boy next door, Canada's own Michael Cera. Yeah, I know, 110-pound Canadian man boy. Ooh, what a threat. And yet, he is. Much like Toronto, there's more to Scott than meets the eye. Much like the fight scenes in this movie as well. The video game stylization, the sound effects, the soundtrack, they are so much fun to watch. And they make not only for a kick-ass hero, but a kick-ass flick as well. And if you don't think the Pilgrim kicks ass, he won a battle of the bands, defeated Captain America, and made out with Mary Elizabeth Winstead all within like 2 days. What have you done? Number 2, Seth Bullock, Deadwood. Man, I love me some Timothy Oliphant. Raylan Givens, y'all! The crazy thing is, I watched the entire series of Justified before I watched 1 minute of Deadwood. So you're telling me that there's an entire show before Justified where he once again plays a tough-as-nails lawman? A man with such staggering anger issues that they're rivaled only by the Incredible Hulk? And it co-stars Ian McShane and the porcelain princess, Canada's own Molly Parker. That little Canadian connection aside, I can't tell you how giddy I was when the character revealed he's from Etobicoke, part of the Greater Toronto Area. And I say this because Canadians don't have a lot of folk heroes, but we certainly don't have a lot of old American Western folk heroes. Then you can imagine how giddy I was when I found out that he was a real dude, a real sheriff, a real US Marshal, a man who paved the way for Yellowstone National Park and was personal friends with Teddy Roosevelt. And you probably thought it was pronounced Edibacoke. Number 1, Deadpool, Wolverine, and Sabretooth, the X-Men universe. Oh, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. No, I'm not picking just one of them because let's face it, they're pretty much the same character. The reason isn't because they're all ageless Canadian mutants with a healing factor who all have to deal with their personal blood rage. No, they all have to deal with a lot of what other Canadians have to deal with, and that's rising above something. Hugh Jackman as Wolverine rose above countless terrible films to still become an icon. Liev Schreiber rose above a terrible film to become one of the greatest villains in the X-Men universe. And Ryan Reynolds rose above this. Okay, so they were all in the same shitty movie. These characters are not my favorite just because they rose above and became icons in a giant cinematic universe. They're not my favorites because everybody loves them from one of the greatest comic book franchises of all time. No, it's because these three kick-ass heroes, these three fierce warriors, are actually proud of being Canadian. What's not to be proud of? Agree or disagree with the list? Leave your picks for top 5 in the comments section below. Happy Canada Day, everyone, but until next time, school's out. Hey Real Students, thanks for watching. If you want to subscribe to Real School, click that round Real School logo right beside me. Also click that damn notification bell so you're aware of all of Real School's new content. You can follow me on Twitter, and of course, if you get anything out of Real School, you can always give a little back. Just click the link in the description below or the button down there, and you can become part of my Patreon team.